Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
Chairman Webb,
Here.
Bettini, Machado,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Houston,
Here.
Missouri,
Here.
Martinez,
Here.
Mike's out.
And Mike. And Steve is sitting in. Okay. Verify the agenda posting.
The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission of City of Hollister meeting of February 22nd posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on February 15th at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Okay, thank you. Item 5 is a consent agenda, which is to approve the minutes of the Airport Advisory Commission meeting of January 25th. If nobody has any comments about it, I'll entertain a motion to accept them. Okay.
Second.
All right, that's Gordon and Steve. Been moved and seconded to accept them. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6-0. Public input. There's a time if anybody wants to speak about anything that's not on the agenda.
Ernie?
Nobody? Ernie? What?
That's
On
Or is
non?
that,
Is it? No. Is
That's for
that?
the oil?
but yeah.
It's,
Okay.
Isn't that on the agenda item, right?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. This is for non-agenda items. Okay, none. All righty, and now we move into 7A, which is reports. Item A is AIP Phase 1.
Well, it's going to be fast because I have nothing on that.
Nothing, okay. No report. CAL FIRE.
I have nothing on that one either.
Oh, is this the way it's going to go?
Uh-huh.
We're moving right along.
When you throw me in this afternoon, yeah.
Okay, 7C is AIP 18 ALP update and survey.
I have nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. How about D, Pappy?
I know the Pappies. So
Okay.
we went out and checked them. They were out of alignment, so the tilt switch made them turn off. We realigned both Pappies. They're working fine now. New bulbs.
You did? Have you done the 3-1?
No, just
the 1-3.
just the 1-3 side.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, comments? Do I hear a comment?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's enough on that. Item 7E is budget.
I got nothing.
Okay. All right. Item 7F, NBAA, which was the Schedulers and Dispatchers Conference that was held in Texas. Maybe we can prevail upon somebody who attended it to at least make a comment.
Oh, yeah, there's a speaker card right here.
Yeah, we need to be able to have it on the record.
All right, Dave Leonardo, Hollister Jet Center. We attended the MBA Schedulers and Dispatch, and it was interesting. It was the first time, so I didn't know what to expect. I think Commissioner Judd had been there before. The last year, I think he went, but it was new for us. But it was interesting to say the least. One of the things that I think I can report on is that we had a what kind of jet was that came in? Was that
Global Express?
a Global Express? Global Express came in, and the pilots, when we were talking to the pilots, they said that they had gotten that the dispatcher, I guess, Gulfstream G550 had gotten. You should get up here and talk. And had gotten one of our the little gifts that we took. Like we did the city, we had city pins, and we had these little sprays to clean your hands and that stuff. that had our name on it instead of just giveaways. That's what that was about, making connections with people and trying to get Hollister on the map and get people, to start dispatching to Hollister, showing our wares, so to speak. So while I know it's not cheap, but I think everything counts. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So it was nice to get our name out there and to see that the fruit come back right just in 1 week, that they said, yeah, the dispatcher, and so that got one of your giveaways or something. We saw that in the office or whatever. So that's about all I have to say about that. Anything in particular? Anything else you want to bring up?
It was successful.
Yeah, let's say it was successful. Yeah, it was. Anytime you can put, because we had the thing going, we had the screen going all the time showing Hollister and the advertisement that we did for Super Bowl last year. So we had that same thing going. Because I think there was 2 or 3 different videos that were going. So it wasn't the one for the Super Bowl specifically, but it was one that showed Hollister and it talked about Hollister and the surrounding. And we're close to, we're close to the golf courses over there. We're close to San Jose. But we're a good option. And with the amount of runway we have, and we got lots of opportunity to expand. So Hollister really is a jewel. I mean, it really is a gem. I don't know how else to put it, but I think we got a hold of something, and I'm glad that we do have a commission that recognizes that. So, thank you.
Before you go, just I'd like to add, from my understanding, is that this year as opposed to last year we had our own spot and with our own full booth and so forth. And my understanding is this year you and the city joined into the AvFuel row or whatever, which was that was different than what we did last year. So, and Mike seemed to think that worked out well. Did he make any comments to you about that?
He did. He did make a comment about that. Yeah. And the AvFuel, the dealer, the people that we are signed up with,
right,
that our fuel provider, if you will, are the largest reseller of aviation fuels in the world. So you can imagine they're big, and they made a big presentation. So, but there was several different other vendors that were there, but we had rows and rows and rows of AvFuel dealers, and it's just all the dealers getting together. And then they had there was a method to the madness that the schedulers and dispatchers would go to one booth and then they'd talk to them and then go to another booth. But each time they would either punch a card or they'd get some kind of thing where they could get little gifts. And they're gifts that we participated in and AvFuel participated in. I don't know how much, what the breakdown was. But then they would come in for something, and like one day it was leggings or something, because most of them are women that are schedulers, I guess. And then what was the other thing? A shawl or something?
We kept running out because it kept coming back to ours.
Yeah.
Every booth had a different one, like jewelry, purses, hats.
Yeah.
Cosmetic bags.
Purses, jewelry, hats.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
okay.
they'd go to different.
That was an AvFuel operation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The booths that we were, because they were just, I
Right.
can't begin to even number how many they were.
Yeah.
But was, and that was one portion of
Right.
the MBNA. And
Right,
so there were
right.
different vendors there. And the other vendors that were there were the big ones like, Rockwell and the different, people that built jet engines and MBNA
Mm-hmm.
or MBAA, I think it was. So, but as far as it was specifically targeted for schedulers and dispatching and that kind of stuff. So some of the other booths that were there were accessories and interiors and catering and stuff that's kind of the peripheral stuff that support aviation scheduling and getting. And as for the corporate, I guess the point that's important to make here is that this wasn't just for general aviation. This was more targeted specifically for the corporate flyers, and that's what we want. That's where the money is in the corporate flyers, and that's where if anybody's going to come in and build or expand the airport or build more hangars or whatever the future is going to be, it's going to be the corporates, and that's kind of what we're attracting. That's kind of Mike's vision. It has been Mike's vision all along. And I think that's the direction that we're going, and that's what this promoted, more than just the guy in a 172 or something.
Beg your pardon.
Yeah. Or the Piper guy.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dave.
All right.
I got one question.
We got a question.
Dave, in those people that are watching the video,
Yes.
were there questions being asked?
Yes.
No,
Yes, yeah.
so you
And
were-
Mike was good. It was good that Mike was there because Mike was good at, good at that because that's kind of what his push was. And I was happy to have David there because he was and everybody, they gave me compliments. They said, that young man, he was good at, because he was, I don't want to use the word hustling, but he was talking. When the people came there, he was talking, and we were this is where we are. Send it our way, send the traffic our way. That's what this is about, because we really can accommodate that class of aircraft. The Challengers, the 600 series Challengers, the 550s, the Gulfstreams, and we're seeing them. Aren't you seeing them? Dean, you're there probably more than anybody else, and Steve, but we're seeing the traffic. That's the result of something. They didn't just,
what
just
is
appearing.
what is the purpose of the traffic? The people that came.
Interestingly enough, sometimes, because I don't want to be nosy, some people are very, very, they don't just tell you what they do. But the Global Express came in last week, 4 women got out of it from the East Coast to go play golf at Cordoval.
At where?
Cordoval in San Martin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so, sometimes I don't know. Now, we are seeing some business. I don't want to name names, but because, again, I want to maintain their privacy too. But let's say local farmers that they came in to look at some property, and there's some other new things happening in the some new things happening that I probably don't want to bring up, but having to do with cultivation, and so they're flying into Hollister, and I'm glad to have them. I'm glad to have them here, flying in and out of here they're trying to make deals and look at property and look at buildings and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. Was there another question? I thought I heard one.
All right.
Okay.
2 minutes are up.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. That took care of that. Item 7G is AIP 19, which Steve and I, it says ALP, but I think
Never figured out what it was.
I'm thinking that may be the parallel taxiway.
No.
And I can give a brief report. I went with Mike to the FAA like a week ago, I guess it was. We had, and Kevin, whatever his last name is. Flynn. Yeah, Kevin Flynn was there too. We met with, turned out to be 5 members of the FAA up there in Brisbane. And I didn't understand all the background leading up to this, but I guess that the upshot is that they want to put off working on our parallel taxiway. That is the one that would be on the west side of 3-1 that would run from the threshold down to taxiway Charlie, and put it off for at least a year or two later than what it's scheduled for on our CIP is called. Mm-hmm. Capital Improvement Program list, whatever. And after a fair amount of discussion, they acknowledged that we do kind of have a safety issue, that that we have to cross the active runway in order to get to the threshold if you're coming from the west side. But they did point out that there are some other issues involved with the way our threshold there is for, apparently, which I didn't know until they said so, the fact that, like currently, we can go direct from the apron across the taxiway direct to the runway. And they said that's doesn't meet the FAA standards, that you should not be able to go direct from an apron to a runway. That there should be, you'd have to make a left or a right turn and then taxi a little further and then make another turn onto the runway, which I'd never heard of. But so they said that's one thing that needs to be improved. And basically what they where we left it was that since we're having our ALP being worked on now, that they wanted to see and approve the ALP before they start moving forward with this other taxiway. The taxiway would be shown on the new ALP, but they want to make sure that all of the other things that are in there would be shown first. Like one of the things they also said, apparently, that taxiway Delta, which is currently, it's kind of a high-speed exit or whatever if you're coming the other direction. Apparently that's, they said, well, that's not supposed to be that way. It should be, right angles. And then, of course, Mike pointed out that we just rebuilt it when we did the runway up there, and they kind of said, oh. So they didn't, I don't know whether their left side doesn't know what their right side's doing, but anyway, it's kind of an interesting experience to talk to them. I mostly listened, but so at any rate, that I think is what that topic was, AIP 19, and the upshot is it'll probably be put off until we get the ALP approved, and hopefully that'll be within the next 12 months, I guess. It's being worked on now. So enough on that. Moving on to item 8, old business, trailer parking. You had a question?
Yeah, but quickie question. Where
Right.
can you go from the apron directly to the runway? Where is that at?
Bravo, at Taxiway Bravo.
Taxiway Bravo.
Yeah.
You're not going from the apron, though.
International airports are that way. You go directly from an apron to the runway.
No, I don't think so.
Fresno's that way. You've got a short taxiway,
Well,
just like we do.
I'm telling you what they said. I'm just saying that's what they said.
Hmm.
Huh?
You got to cross Alpha.
But it's still a straight shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the point is, in other words, they're saying that there should be offset. That either the going from the apron to the taxiway should not be. We'd have to move it basically, and then so that you go this way and then that way. I don't quite know why this is, other than I suppose I didn't want to. I was the only one that would probably say, "Well, how come?" But I didn't. But I'm guessing that it has to do with the fact that you have to stop and make a turn so they don't accidentally taxi out into the runway when you're leaving the apron. I think that's probably somebody did that one time, I'm sure, and so the FAA said, "Well, we'll just make them make a turn." I'm guessing. Yeah. But, okay. Any more question on that? Right? You agree, Fred? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't understand why.
Well, I mean, you understand it. You go right from the tie-down area straight across Alpha.
Yeah, you have to cross the taxiway.
Yeah, but you don't have to
What do
turn.
they want us to make a few turns?
They want you to make a turn, make a right turn, and then make a left turn.
It's wasting fuel.
Or well, anyway. Okay. Okay, anything else on that topic? Nope. All right. Item 8, old business trailer parking.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Okay. Now, B is 155 Skyline Drive, Building 16. That's the restaurant?
Yeah.
You might be able to tell us something about that.
We're still waiting on the roof. They were supposed to come out in January and do it, but because of all the bad weather, they need at least a week and 60-degree weather to seal everything up there.
Oh,
Because they're doing the spray foam. They're going to foam the top
okay.
like the rest of the city buildings here.
So we're waiting for good weather.
Yeah. So they say as soon as good weather, they get a good week with some warmer weather, then they'll be out to roof it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the equipment that's on the roof, that's going to stay there? Or
That
that's
will
gonna be-
stay. And originally it had like fiberglass insulation wrapped around the air conditioning ducts and stuff. And we had the AC guy go out and look at it, and they're going to foam that at the same time to insulate it, so it won't have the old wrapped insulation, so it'll last now. And he said that'll make a big difference in there for the cooling and heating inside the building.
So it's all functional, what's on the roof?
It is, yeah, when they went up and looked at it. The only thing that's not is the swamp cooler that piped into the kitchen. So that'll need to be replaced. But the AC unit itself is good.
We are going to replace the swamp cooler for no known occupant?
If you're going to put a restaurant back in there, you need the swamp cooler.
No, I
That's
agree.
the
I agree.
makeup air for the AC unit itself.
Yeah.
So you can't be without it if you're going to put another restaurant in there.
I guess the key word, if we're going to put a restaurant back in there.
Mhm.
We are? No. I agree with the the idea, but the thing
It'll
is
be
that it's been
gavel
going
in a
on for so
restaurant?
long. It's been going on for so long, and it seemed like the discussion was, it really probably wouldn't happen because the city wasn't going to put the money in the equipment, so there we need a entrepreneur to come in to do it. And I don't think the volume's there for an entrepreneur, so it's questionable.
And that's kind of the way most restaurants are, is, you know, they go in and make the modifications that they need for their own restaurant. You know?
Yeah,
So
but I
it's-
mean, they were, over the years, they're using the older equipment that was there for years.
Right. But now, you go into any building, unless you get lucky and find a restaurant,
Yeah.
you know, but if you go into any building, you're modifying it to make it back into a restaurant, or make a restaurant out of any building. And you're putting your own stuff in your own stove and,
No, I agree it's needed. I just wondering.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Enough on that. Item 9 is new business. We can either elect a chairperson now, I don't know how that works, and then chairperson takes over, and then we talk about the next one, or we can reverse these two and talk about the oil and then do the chairperson. Anybody object to doing the oil first and then the chairperson?
No, no objection.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, we'll talk about 9B first, which is aircraft waste oil. You want to introduce the topic, or shall I?
you can. I'll chime in whenever you need me.
Most of the people, at least, well, half the people here are aware of this. As many or most of you know, there's a oil disposal tank or whatever at the airport, which has been there available for the tenants to deposit waste oil. This apparently was, and I didn't realize this till this week, is there at the under the control of, or at the of the county. The county actually had it there. But somehow or other, we've been involved with trying to get the waste oil picked up and so forth and so on. Well, most recently, and this may have been in December, did somebody tell me today that when it was ready to be picked up, two things have happened. One is that what's in there currently is contaminated with fuel. It's got so much fuel that apparently you can just open the cap and smell it. And this turns out to be a problem because the people that normally pick this stuff up say, well, this is now hazardous waste and it creates all kinds of problems. And they apparently don't want to pick it up. That's number one. They've been trying to get it picked up, and they won't pick it up because it's contaminated. And the second thing that came up in the discussion, and I don't know whether it's related to them not picking it up, but trying to find somebody who will pick it up, they also are complaining that our oil is contaminated with lead, which is a surprise. I mean, not a surprise, but that's an issue. So in the meantime, so I guess the immediate problem is to get the current full bin out of there and the oil removed. And then the second problem is, what do we do in the future? And there's really two classes of users currently. One is the businesses like Ernie and Dave and Mike Barrow, I guess, and maybe Eris, we don't know, who probably put the most oil in there. There's also, for all of the tenants, of which there are, well, one's missing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us on the commission who have an aircraft at the airport, who may in fact also occasionally change their own oil because it is it's permitted for a pilot to change the oil in the aircraft, and presumably would like to deposit our oil there. Now, Mike's initial reaction has been just tell the county we'll get rid of it and it'll be gone and everybody fends for themselves. I personally was a little disconcerted about that because I felt that at least the tenants like myself kind of expected that that was part of the airport service. So anyway, so it's an issue, and Steve, I think, has some information because he's been looking at a way to get rid of it and what the options are. So maybe you'd like to talk about this.
So the difference being, it's about a 200-gallon waste oil tank. If it was just regular old oil, it's about $100 to get rid of it.
Is your mic on, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like about $100 to get rid of it if it's just regular waste oil. Because it has fuel in it now, that now cost us $2,000 to get rid of it.
How did the fuel get in there?
Somebody dumped it in there.
Is your mic on?
You could smell it.
Is your mic on? Fred?
Yeah.
Just going by smell?
Well, when the guy came out, it's not oil. There's something in it, and it smells like fuel. The two different oil guys that came out, the one guy came out to test it, and he lifted the cap and says it's contaminated. There's oil, there's fuel in it.
They'd have to really test it. They can't go on smell.
Well, it's not oil.
You can.
Well, we can spend $200 and have them test it, and then they'll say, yes, there's fuel in it.
It's $250 for the test.
$250, sorry.
Who's dumping fuel in there?
Well,
Don't know.
we
So
don't know.
that's the problem with that oil tank now is it's for anybody. It was listed. I tried looking for it today and I didn't find it, but it was listed as a county drop-off oil site for anybody. Anybody in the public can come drop their oil there.
But
If
they
they
have
can
to
get
get
through the
into
gate.
the hangar, into the.
How hard is that?
Wow.
When you have homeless in your garbage cans, getting the recycling out of the garbage, it's not hard to get in there. So it's the same thing, you know. So it's,
Lead.
I don't know. Just follow somebody right behind.
Yeah.
No,
Walk through the gate.
Well, why would they be dumping fuel? It's pretty expensive.
it's old. It's old fuel. I'm not going to put it in my car. So what am I going to do with it? I'm going to throw it in my oil and dump it at the oil tank.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't come out of their pocket, so it kind of ends up, you know, makes a big difference now from $100 to $2,000.
So we have a speaker card on this, right?
Ernie, yeah.
Let's give Ernie a chance too.
They ought to shut down
Hi, I'm Ernie Persich from Vintage Wings and Wheels.
You
Yeah,
want me?
I've seen this issue since I've been on this airport since 1983. We've had this happen before. When the oil container was parked by CAL FIRE, everyone was doing really good, and the next thing you know, someone's dumping rotten fuel, like from a lawnmower or whatever, in there. I've seen paint stripper in there. I've seen coolant. I've smelled lacquer thinner. I've smelled everything. At that time, then they decided to put a lock on it, and problem went away. And but then they got before they moved it, then the lock kind of got slowly pulled away again, and the problem creeped back in. So what I kind of think might help, you know, for all the tenants, if it's unfortunate, it's a county, property, but people are misusing it, and I thought would be a good idea is put a lock on it, and if you need to drain your oil, you just call Tony or somebody and see if they can unlock it and bring your oil over and then dump it. You know, that would kind of protect what goes in there from people that you don't know when they're showing up and doing stuff. Now, I've smelled that before. I've smelled it about 2 or 3 times, and it's rotten fuel that someone just dumps in there, and you can smell it. And you just say, and I kept saying, one of these days it's going to backfire, and we're here.
guess
So
it did.
those are just the inputs I have on that. Maybe we can work something out so all the tenants can still use, the oil, and that way we're back to the $100, draining instead of a $2,000 fee. So anyway, that's my inputs on that.
Thank you, Ernie.
A couple
Did,
of questions, if I may.
okay.
So the immediate problem is how do we dispose of the oil?
Well, it's not how, it's just money. It's
Okay.
hazardous waste,
So-
and they'll come out and pick it up.
So where would it come out of? Obviously, a lot of the pilots are thinking this is part of the lease, right?
Well, the oil tank now is county. The county owns it.
Okay.
So the county has been paying to dispose of that oil all along.
All right.
We haven't, as an airport, been paying for that. Now that it's contaminated, I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know if the county's going to come up with the $2,000, or if I need to try and get rid of it through our waste dump deal that they do the last Saturday.
Is the county aware?
Yeah,
Okay.
they
And what have they said?
nothing.
They're just
They-
hoping it'll go away?
Well,
or?
yeah, they want us to dump it, and then they'll come pick up their tank.
Okay.
In other words, at this point, if they basically said, you get rid of it, and then we'll pick up the tank, and then it won't be there anymore, and we're
Mhm.
not going to support that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their position currently.
Right.
Okay.
No.
So in the long run right now, it sounds like the county won't provide the tank.
Right.
Okay. So
And the
Would it
cost
be-
to dispose of it?
What's that?
And the cost to dispose of it?
See, and I don't know about the cost. I don't know where
yeah,
that's
well,
going yet.
We'll have to negotiate. Well, that's a one-time deal at this point.
Yeah.
To figure that out.
You mentioned the city's hazardous waste. Would it be possible to get rid of that during that hazardous waste
We could
pickup?
probably do it once, maybe twice, but you can't do it all the time.
No.
You know what I mean? So just to make this one go away for now might work.
Right.
But you couldn't do it, 6 months down the road, it gets contaminated again. So, well, here,
But
let's
if
just
we
shuffle
were
it
to
over here
take
again.
the suggestion
Yeah,
and put a lock on it,
I do believe that we do need some way to monitor that.
exactly.
Right, but and I've kind of kicked the lock thing around, but I have no way to test it as it goes in, right? So not every
but
tenant
as-
out there is honest.
But as with anybody else, if you go ahead and educate yourself in the smelling and the understanding of what's contaminated and what isn't, you're going, and if you're not sure, then you call somebody that does know. And you don't let anything
all you
into
can do
the
is
tank
test it.
until
Well,
Yeah.
it-
But if it's
Okay.
antifreeze, can you smell antifreeze?
you can
Not
see
really.
that.
It'll float on top.
Exactly.
Right, it'll change a little bit,
Well-
but there's a lot of different things that could be in there that may not even smell. So
Well-
it's how do you, am I going to have to inspect everybody's oil as they dump it in?
Well,
And then,
What about keeping a log of who's dumping the oil in? You
but
know,
then what do you do? Okay, this one's contaminated and I've had 50 people dump, since it was emptied.
well,
Go blame all 50 people or?
I don't want
I
to
don't
try
know.
to solve this necessarily right here,
Right.
right now, especially with Mike not here, because ultimately Mike is going to weigh in on this. I think we do have another speaker
We
card.
do. Dave?
I'd like to make sure people that have an opinion about it. But I personally am kind of interested in, if you have, you can, go ahead.
Once again, Dave Leonardo, Hollister Jet Center, and likewise, I've been flying in and out of here since '84. The last scare that it was all going to go away was somebody had contaminated with ethyl glycol, so antifreeze. And I think that there's always an equal and opposite reaction. And I just can guarantee you, because the changing oil is the one thing that an owner is allowed to do by the FAA. So I don't like it. I'd rather they come in, and my customers, actually when they're the do-it-yourselfers, come in and I let them use my facility and my 5-gallon buckets. And then we dump the oil ourselves, put it on an old golf cart that I have, and wheel it over there, and we dump it. Because I want to maintain a good relationship with it. But sometimes they'll be out there on the ramp dumping it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have a place here in the airport,
Right, exactly.
my fear is, and I'm just as sure as you can just think about it, it's going to end up in the dirt, which is going to give us bigger
More-
problems.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. So in terms of mitigating this, I think the way I would handle it is as follows. I'd put a lock on it. And allow Ernie, I don't want to burden Ernie, but I trust him, first of all, I trust him 100%, and he's there almost all the time. The FBO, us, we're there 7 days a week. We make sure that everybody's educated on inspecting the oil that goes in. And I mean, if one of you guys, Steve, you came to me, I was there, and I got the key. I trust that your oil is going to be sound. I'd make sure that all the operatives would go, and so that we can agree that there's nothing in here. This is oil. This is aircraft oil. That might help on one hand. And the thing that we can't have is that the city has the key, which is fine. The city can have a key, but Tony can't. We can't put the burden on her. She can't just throw the key to somebody because somebody mentioned, I don't know who, that not everybody's going to be honest. It's an opportunity to dump oil or grease or glycol or ethyl glycol or whatever, paint stripper. I think at one time it was even paint stripper years ago. So I think that's probably the best thing to do is that let's everybody take a little bit of responsibility.
Right.
Again, I don't want to be volunteering Ernie, but if Ernie had a key and his customer, him and his customers, the people that know him, and that he would, you know what I'm saying, that he would go with them or he would look at the oil, I would commit to nobody. I'm not giving anybody the key either. I'm going to inspect the oil because I don't want this to go away. I really don't want this to go away. As I said, I really believe if we don't do something to have the oil, everybody's used to it. They know that they dump it. They've been coming and dumping it, especially when they do it on the weekends. They come and dump it to me. They come and get a 5-gallon bucket when they're the do-it-yourselfers. The ones that are my customers, I have them just go ahead and nose it into my hanger, and we'll clean it there because we can clean and right there it's better than being out on the ramp. I've seen them where they drain the oil and some of it gets on the ramp, and it's clean to some degree, but you still have all the oil spots. And that's one thing to be on the ramp, but remember when it rains, that oil and that is going to end up somewhere. Right. The other thing is if it's on a Sunday morning when there's nobody there, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, it can end up in the grass. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, as sure as we can just think about it, that we're going to find oil in the grass. So the goal is, I don't want to be redundant here, repetitious. I would hope that we would. I know that the county does have, because I've seen where they have it posted, where to bring your old paints and your old stuff. That's hazmat stuff. Now this stuff, I know they're calling it hazmat. They want to call it that. It's contaminated if it's got 100 low lead, but 100 low lead is still a petroleum product. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's contaminated. They want pure oil. Excuse me. Well, but so there's I don't think this is as big as a problem as we might think it is. I think there is a way of keeping the oil there for the customers, for the people on the airport, and some of us will step up, lock the thing up, and then we just do our best. And I know what you're saying. 50 people. How can you go? Oh, it's contaminated. Which one of the 50 contaminated? And then the other thing, maybe a letter can go out to all the tenants that the oil can be only oil. Otherwise, we're going to lose our privilege. That kind of thing. So, again, that's my thoughts.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. I think there is this other issue, which I'm not sure has been fully explored, and that is the lead in the oil.
A lot of airports right now, nobody will pick up their oil because of the lead in it. They're trying to find somebody, and I guess it just came up that there's just one person in Santa Cruz that'll do it. That's where I got these.
So even if we clean up all of this, we're going to have a problem. We've got one person in Santa Cruz that currently says they'll pick it up as long as it's just aviation oil. They don't seem to care about the lead, but apparently a lot of others are saying, oh, it's got lead, and they don't even want to pick it up. They consider it hazardous. So
it still may come to
it's
an
still
end.
It's still a kind of
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You want to go ahead, Gordon.
I don't have an airplane. I don't put oil nowhere. The point is that you said it's a county-owned barrel, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And they advertise that anybody in the county can utilize it?
Anybody in the city or county. Yeah, so it was a drop-off point.
I guess my point is, I understand what everybody's saying, and I think to me, it wouldn't be the simplest answer, but the logical answer maybe, it's owned by the county, give it to the county, and that's their problem. And in the future, we replace that with the city-owned and doing the method we're talking about here. Somebody controls it. But the idea that we have to pay $1,500, I think that's ridiculous. It's something that's advertised as a county-wide. I mean, that's my solution. Go back to the county and get our own, and then critique it as need be.
That's kind of basically what we're doing. We're giving it back.
Yeah. But they want it emptied before we give it back. With their other sites that they advertise, what happens when those are contaminated?
See, when I looked today, it was AutoZone and Cragen's, and who else was it?
There was they were almost all.
I'm familiar with that program.
Yeah.
They approached us years ago. The county supplies the tank. That's all they supply. They were going to give us 200-gallon tank, but when I inquired about who would empty it, who would be responsible if it was contaminated, that fell back on us. So the county program was to supply the tank only, not to supply somebody to come out and empty it.
No. See, we've never paid to empty it yet since it's been out there. So the county's been paying for it.
Well, okay, we probably should wrap this up because we're not going to solve it tonight, but I think I got the sense, at least from Dave, that the tenants, the small aircraft tenants, would like to preserve that ability to put aircraft oil, dispose of it at the airport. The businesses, I think, they definitely have to come up with something. Now, whether there's Mike claims there's some difference between businesses putting oil somewhere and tenants putting oil somewhere, and that we've kind of in the past ignored the difference that is supposed to be there, and I don't know what that really is all about. And without Mike, I can't get that sorted out. So. I guess if everybody agree, I would summarize to say there is a desire to keep the ability to dispose of aircraft oil at the airport, and on both parts, both the businesses and the tenants. And I think we'll probably have to continue this topic till the next meeting at least. Maybe we'll know more too. We'll maybe have gotten rid of that, and we'll make something happen, but it's
if we could explore the option of getting rid of it through the city's hazardous waste, that would ease the burden quite a bit. But one way or the other, we still need to get rid of the oil.
It needs to go.
well,
Whether we get rid of the oil and get rid of the tank to the county, purchase another tank for the airport only, and at that point it would become our burden, period.
okay. If we can wrap this up,
I think so.
okay, we'll continue it. Make sure this stays on the agenda. All right, now we'll do 9A, election chairperson and vice chairperson. So, this is our first February election, we moved it to February so that it would be at a time shortly after any new commissioners were appointed to the commission, and that whoever would be appointed or elected chairman and vice chairman could serve for most of a full year without having city elections disrupting things. So I don't recall just how we'd like to do this, but since Gordon volunteered to be chairman, maybe I'd be happy
I would like to nominate somebody.
You need motions.
Steve Houston.
Now we got two. Steve?
Oh,
What?
did somebody make a?
Well, I was trying to talk Gordon into it, but
No, but
I'll second Gordon.
You got to have a motion in a second.
got to have a motion in a second. All right. Well, okay, we got him. Did you move to
Well, where are we at here? I got
I'm
one.
trying to get the chairman.
We're at zero.
We're at zero. Trying to get a chairman.
So did somebody nominate, or
I mean, I presume you have to be willing to serve too. I mean,
Sure.
So, you're moving that we elect Steve Houston as chairman? Is that what you're saying? Is there a second to that motion?
no second?
Well, first, does he want to?
Does he want to?
Yeah, we
I'm
haven't.
not sure my schedule would prohibit that. I've got 3 travel dates right now towards the end of the month.
Are you saying you're not sure you'd?
I'm not sure I'd be able to be here consistently.
Well, okay.
Well, I would second, if it's possible, Gordon.
Well, we got to, first somebody's got to propose Gordon.
Okay, so I'm proposing.
You're moving that we elect Gordon
Yes.
chairman. Okay, is there a second to
I'll
that
second
one?
that.
Wait, who? What, who? All right, so
I just don't want.
I'm trying to keep notes here, people. Okay.
Maybe a ballot booth or something.
So what? What'd you say? You want a secret ballot?
No.
That was Jose moved to elect Gordon as chairman, and Fred seconded it?
Seconded it.
Fred, okay. Gordon, okay. Are there any other candidates that need to be put up? I guess you should only deal with one motion at a time, shouldn't you? That's a little weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a motion on the floor,
Yeah, I guess we have to just move with that one, and then if it fails, then we'll try again. All right. So it's been moved and seconded that Gordon Machado be elected chairman of the Airport Advisory Commission. If there's no further discussion,
You gotta say all in favor.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
And you voted aye too.
Gordon?
Yes.
Okay.
Silence.
All right. Good. So Gordon will be our new chairman, and does that mean you take over getting the vice chairman elected, or shall I do that?
Why don't you just go ahead and do it? I can delegate too.
Yeah,
I'll delegate
okay.
you to continue that.
All right. We need to have a vice chairman.
As I recall, in the past, the chairman became automatically the vice chair.
Yes.
In the past. That's
Correct.
how I became vice chair.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't.
the bylaws don't say that.
Yeah.
Now, that may be
Oh, they don't? Oh.
No.
a tradition, but the bylaws do not say that.
If you're going to elect a chair and a vice chair, you elect a chair and a vice chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bylaws say elected, yeah.
I should have looked.
Same
Yeah,
for
it's
us.
not automatic. Now, that may be traditional, but it's not automatic. So we need to, somebody needs to move that somebody be vice chairman.
I'll move that Steve Houston be vice chair.
I'll take that.
You said you'll take that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Second that.
okay,
Yeah, we got a
Fred
second.
and Marge. Okay, Steve, vice chair.
Next, get you.
Chairman, vice chairman. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Steve Houston be elected vice chairman of the Hollister Airport Advisory Commission. No further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried, 6-0. All right, we have a new chairman in Gordon and a vice chairman in Steve. Okay. All right.
Donuts after the meeting.
Items for next agenda, I think, is basically everything we've got on here. And if anybody has anything else they want to add?
Everything except the election.
Oh, except the election, right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next meeting date will be March 22nd. 22nd, yes, Wednesday. All right. If there's nothing further here, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I
So
make a
moved.
motion that we
Wait,
adjourn the
wait.
meeting.
I think that was Marge. And was there a second?
Second.
Second? Okay. Gordon, okay. It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Seems kind of odd that
Meeting's over.
Wednesday,
Not too bad.
the 22nd is the same as February 22nd.